Well, good morning, everybody. My name's Larry Jacobs. It is Monday, February 6th, 2023. We got a nice show for you today with my old friend, Doug Roberts. Doug, the CEO and president. I guess president, that's the way he likes to do it. Founder, CEO. Now it says CEO, okay? Founder and CEO of the Institute for Education Innovation, IEA, which is a good organization Doug founded. It connects leaders in school districts with ed tech companies to drive change in education, and it really does, because it gives these companies a real opportunity to get in front of superintendents and talk to them about what they need. And I always say that there's an important synergy between the industry and the school districts. Okay, the industry needs to know what the school districts need. Okay, and the school districts need to know what the industry has, and together they form a pretty good product line that goes. And Doug is one of the people that helps move that pipeline of products and information backwards and forwards. And we're going to, because he works so closely with superintendents, okay? And by the way, he's the creator of the Superintendent's Choice Awards, which recognizes innovative ed tech solutions, okay? He knows his stuff. We're going to talk to him about how superintendents are viewing 2023. We're going to archive the show over at ace-ed.org, ace-ed.org. That's our home website for American Consortium for Equity in Education. And go over there, you'll see the new issue of our magazine, all right, which is called Equity and Access. You just click on the cover. You'll enjoy a terrific new issue which honors all our Equity Awards winners. Speaking of awards, we're very proud of them, the companies, the educators, etc., who work so hard for equity, because that's what we're all about here, okay, is equity in education. And so we're trying here. So please go over, look at it. Please feel free to see how we do this, and you're welcome to enter for next year's awards, and maybe you'll be featured in the magazine as well. We certainly hope so. We also work in SEL. We work in teacher retention. That's over there too. Plus, also, obviously, we do all the podcasts over there. So please check it out over at ace-ed.org. And our new issue of the magazine is pretty darn good, I got to tell you. All right, here's Doug. Doug Roberts, everybody. Hi, Doug. Good morning.
Good morning, Larry. How are you?
I'm fine, buddy. How you doing?
I'm good. Ready to launch into a Monday here. I don't know when people are listening to this, but Monday, 9 a.m., and no one I'd rather start the week with than you.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. It's been a long time. And were you down at FETC?
No, I did not go to FETC. I actually went to TASA, but my team was there. So it's weird. When I first spoke to you, it was just me running around, but now I have all these people I work with, and it's pretty amazing to be able to,
yeah, it is.
Just watching our own growth. Now we can cover. We used to go to a few things a year because that's all our budget and staffing would allow. But we get out there and we go to a lot of stuff because we believe that the way these connections happen, the way ideas get shared, and the way our members can be thought leaders is if we're out there seeing them, making those connections, listening to them as much as we can. We tend to go to stuff, and it's sort of, I think most organizations, as they grow, they kind of they take on some of the DNA of the founder. And I was always the guy who was on the road out talking to people and listening to people. So here we are.
Yeah, it's good stuff, and it's just amazing. When you talk about that, you and I have known each other a long time, and both this company and your company have grown like crazy, and it's just good stuff. The market's doing well out there, and I hope schools are doing well. And, the whole world of pre-K-12 is changing, but that's okay. Things evolve, things change, and hopefully we're both on top of it. So it's good to see you're having so much success with the Institute for Education Innovation. I just want to say this. That is literally the website, which is instituteforedinnovation.com. Instituteforedinnovation.com. You only got, it's long, but you got to write it out once, and then, yeah.
Or go to IEIK12.com. IEIK12.com is the short version.
Thank you. I don't even have that one. Thanks a lot. I appreciate that. IEIK12.com. Very good. Okay, yep. And you got, before we go into anything else, okay, the Institute for Education Investment, the Spring Summit, San Antonio, March 2nd. That's coming up. Tell us what that is.
Yeah, we do 3 gatherings of our membership, spring, winter, spring, summer, and a fall. This is the spring-winter version. and we're going to be out in the hill country of San Antonio. We're going to spend some time outside, especially for those of us up north who've been inside most of the winter. The topic here, we usually pick a topic around which to focus our discussion, but it's interesting. There are just so many themes, especially post-pandemic that come up every time. But here, our theme is basically having the difficult conversations that we're having, and sort of understanding the negative stuff that's coming into our districts, understanding the arguments being made for some of the things that really are not things we want to be doing, like removing books from libraries, restricting how we work
how
with
we teach certain subjects that might supposedly offend people, which it doesn't. Okay, and if I may, the governor of the new if I may, let me just rail a minute. The new governor of Arkansas, Huckabee Sanders. Okay, Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Okay, the first thing she does in office is, quote, bans critical race theory in public schools, which, by the way, didn't even exist. Okay, it's just a cultural catchphrase that is nothing more than a bunch of BS. Okay, that's used to make like she's doing something when she's doing absolutely nothing. Put your mind to the government of the state, not a bunch of idiotic phraseology, if I may, Doug. Okay, and that's the kind of stuff that superintendents have to deal with.
Yes, we lead school systems, and we're here to make sure kids learn, and we have to make sure that we can continue to let kids learn, which means we've got to listen to anybody who's got something to say about how we should or should not be doing the business of teaching and learning. We've got to be able to listen to them, understand that argument. We need to be able to, redirect back to the matter of teaching and learning. And so if a community and their Board of Ed decides they want to ban this book or ban this course, then we have a choice to make whether we want to work in that community or not. But either way, we have to be able to make the case for the educational outcome of all the kids in the district. And so we're spending a little time. We're a little uncomfortable being political, honestly, but we're getting political stuff put on our plate. So we have to be able to respond to it, disarm the politics, help understand where it comes from, understand the concern of the person, because it ultimately, in most cases, if you're coming to speak at a Board of Ed meeting, you could be a political actor, but a lot of folks are parents with real genuine concerns.
Yeah, who have real concerns.
We understand.
And they're welcome to them. We hope they express them.
Yeah.
But not junk.
Right.
Not craziness.
And we got to get through the noise of the politics to the real concern, and then we got to make sure we can respond with the educational outcome at the center of everything we do. And so we're going to be talking a little bit about some of the PR we can do as districts around getting the message out about all the positive things we're doing, which is something we live and breathe at IEI. Our social media channels are full of positive stories about work happening in school districts because somebody's got to keep it all positive. It's not that there aren't challenges in schools. It's just there's so much negative.
There's a lot of good
national
stuff
media.
going on. Yeah.
There's so much good happening day to day that doesn't get covered. And, to the extent that people follow us, our social media channel, we celebrate those wins. We herald those victories. And we celebrate the people, these amazing people, some of whom I think are just heroic in all the stuff they've got to put up with, who lead these school systems.
Couldn't agree with you more, which brings up an interesting point. You're going to talk about this kind of thing and how superintendents work their way through a year like 2023, kind of the second year off the pandemic, it's pretty wild out there right now. Okay. And yet the role of the company, IEI, Institute for Education and Innovation, okay, is to bring ed tech companies together with, that's the basics of it, ed tech companies together with the superintendents to create that market, which is so darn important. Okay, I'm fully in favor of this.
Yeah.
But my question is, when you just said we have to balance, when you meet with the superintendents, obviously the things you just said are on your good friends, your good colleagues in your association. Okay, it's on their mind. It's inhibiting their real job.
Yes.
Okay, and
It's
just talk
making
about
people
that. How do you
reconsider whether
manage a
they want to do
meeting?
this.
Yeah. How do you manage a meeting where your goal is to really do one thing, to bring the ed tech companies and get them in front of the superintendents, which is great. Okay, but then you've also got all these other things bubbling up that kind of blocks the way. How do you balance the two when you do like your meeting in San Antonio?
Yeah. So the answer is that we're not trying to quote unquote get the companies and the superintendents. That's like, there are places where you can go and do your kind of standard dog and pony sales pitch.
Right.
We're about convening a conversation of leaders who are all experts in their field. The Supes are experts in district leadership or strive to become so. A lot of them would say they're not experts, but I would disagree with them. But, they're trying to grow as leaders. And the founders and CEOs of our corporate partners, they're all kind of experts in a very narrow band, but they go really kind of intensely, deep on that narrow piece of the work. So if you're an SEL provider, if you're a safety provider, a mental health provider, we have a lot of instructional services and intervention and tutoring providers, what districts need and what they're doing and what they're having success with in that one area better than almost anybody else. And so our members like to pick the brains of these folks to learn. So, what worked here, what worked there, right? Regardless of whether I work with your company or not. Obviously, the partners, they're there to pursue business relationships.
Of course.
But what's kind of most important is that we advance the work and that we share out the conclusions and ideas we come up with. And so IEI's job is basically, while these folks are off running school districts, we summarize the conversations and we push out op-eds, written pieces, video, so that the whole industry, anyone who cares about what happens in K-12 schools, can understand what the IEI superintendents are working on, what they're thinking about, where they want to see things head. We have a couple pieces coming out soon about, how much should we pay attention to the NAEP in our day-to-day work at school leaders? How much, should we? What are things we can do to make sure that we keep good people stepping up to lead school districts? We have a challenge right now.
We're going to talk about that.
So
we're going to talk about that.
Yes, we've got all these pieces that we're, and we help our members write their own particular, passions into op-eds. And so we've got several of those out there and a few more coming out because they all have these incredible thoughts about leadership development and strategy and all that. But, they don't, the school district doesn't, provide them the job is so all encompassing and it's so many hours and so much face time. These folks have to be physically present at, school plays and basketball games and board meetings.
Football games and everything else.
Who has time to sit and write, a piece? So we kind of help them do that. And that's been one of my favorite new things that we've done this year. And our members really love it, but it's about getting the ideas out there and making sure that they get shared so that, the work that one member's doing in Connecticut can impact somebody who's not a member of us, but will pick up the piece in one of the trades.
Exactly. You have to reinvent the wheels is basically what we're saying. And that's the problem when you got 12,000 school districts. You don't have, they're all facing the same thing, but each individual superintendent doesn't have to reinvent the wheel. And when you say you're publishing, where are you sending, how are you getting the word out there? Just to your group? Or further?
No,
because the reason I'm leading into something, Doug, you're one of our good friend media partners, and you are always welcome to send us editorial that has to do, somewhat with equity and access and all that sort of thing. But we're always happy to get it out there. We have a huge circulation.
No, and I think we're here talking to you now. We work with Sarah Williamson, PR. I want to give her a little shout. Her team, the SWPR group, has helped our members sort of get how to get their words out there. And so they shop the pieces. We got one of our members from Southern Illinois, Todd Dugan, talks about equity in ed tech. His piece is coming out in Teaching and Learning, TNL, this week.
But we are always happy to run it. And teaching and learning is just fine. Please don't misunderstand. We don't see that as competition or anything like that. Okay.
We'll make sure they're on the list. But
please make sure tell Sarah, and I'll tell her as well. We are happy to always look at this. And, it brings up an interesting point that I've always said. We are here what we do. We do a lot of publishing. We do a lot of podcasting and all that. And we are firm believers okay? And what you're describing, we describe it as an industry voice, okay? The industry has a lot to say, okay? And they understand education, obviously, because they have to produce the products the teachers use, all right? And when you get superintendents and the industry together, you got a lot of good voice in there. You got a lot of good thought power in there, okay? And, we're the same wavelength on that type of thing, same wheelhouse.
Yeah.
All right.
But
it's really important. A lot
of
people don't realize it. And, which brings up an interest. I got to ask you this. You're talking to superintendents, and then you mentioned, I want to get into this a little more detail about the pipeline of superintendents. We lost a lot of superintendents, not to disease, but because of retirement. Okay. We lost a lot of superintendents through the pandemic. The pressures were so great, et cetera. And we gotta find not only superintendents, principals, et cetera. There's not a big pipeline of educators right now, professional educators. All right, and when you talk to the superintendents, when you talk to the industry, what are you hearing about that? And you might want to talk about how IEI is helping, if you want. Be my guest.
Yeah, I mean,
actually, you are my guest, so be my guest. Yeah.
What I'm hearing is that this job has gotten so hard, and it's just all of and I think social media has a role in this. Like the way social media can get people sort of worked up over something that may or may not be factual, that may or may not be a real issue. It makes the job a little harder. And the way social media gets kids involved with each other and engaged with each other sometimes in very negative things. It's made the mental health aspect of the job much harder. We ask a lot more in the pandemic. We got accustomed to asking a lot more of our schools, and we continue to. Food. A lot was made when the schools closed about food services having to get out. Kids who relied on school for certain psychological services, mental health services, counseling, coaching, and so we've asked our schools to take on much more responsibility, particularly in, communities that have greater needs socioeconomically. But we're not, the minute we throw a couple of bucks at them from the federal government, everyone loses their mind and talks about how districts are flush with cash and spending money like drunken pirates. And that's not, like a lot of us think this is just kind of a right sizing. Like this is just helping us catch up with all the new demands on school districts. But right now, districts have all the incentives. Many communities, I would say, we have 12,000 districts. A lot of them have declining enrollments. The urban and suburban, the rurals actually sometimes have increasing, or ex-urban places have increasing enrollment. But, a lot of them have declining enrollments. You got an aging staff. So a lot of them are doing retirement incentives because they got to get the costs down to try to fit all these new services in. And one of the big things our members tell us too is that they've got a solid, there are all these tools you can now use to survey kids, even anonymously. And there's serious, kids are struggling with some heavy social emotional stuff, with
they sure are
health issues or with considering self-harm. This is, at an all-time high, yet they can't find the adults to come work in the school district to help with those particular services. And
that's right.
Accessing our healthcare system for those services is not exactly an easy thing in a lot of places, because they're used to working in a certain way where you make a phone call, schedule an appointment, blah, blah, blah. And like a school district has to sort of act on behalf of a kid sometimes in those scenarios. And we don't have all the infrastructure in place to do what we know our districts need to be doing for our kids. And that's a tough way. It's a tough way to work every day. There's like a fight or flight, I think, that I'm seeing a lot of members have, where they feel like there's no way they can do enough. And that has caused some really wonderful people I know to decide, whereas maybe 8 years ago they would have renegotiated and stayed. I'm going to move on to a different district, or I'm going to take a few years off, or I'm going to write a book and go try. There's some pretty talented superintendents right now out shopping books because they're just not able to hang. And, I don't know how to fix it. Like paying superintendents more, I don't think that's going to go anywhere. And I'm not sure that the money matters. You know, so, you know, we have this other thing happening. Generally speaking, in our economy, educators are now becoming part of a dwindling set of people who have to put on a shirt and pants every day and go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And,
That's
you know,
right.
when you can
Good
work
point.
at Starbucks or work at home in your shorts, it becomes sort of a, I think some people are going, well, why am I doing this? Why am I on this bell schedule? And now districts have opened the door through the pandemic stuff to actual credit-bearing instruction, full courses coming in via the internet, you know, which is something that used to only be done like at regional agencies for small rurals who couldn't offer AP Italian at all these tiny districts. So there's one teacher sitting in a central place on camera, you know, in a special classroom. Now anybody can take AP Italian. It's just a matter of whether the districts have gotten around to figuring this out. And so, you know, there are a lot of great teachers, I know anecdotally, saying, yeah, I'm going to go work for one of these companies. And yeah, the benefits may not be as good, the pay may not be as good, but I'm doing the thing I love without some of the things I don't love, which the classroom.
Without the aggravation. Stuff. You have to be quite honest.
Yeah.
Without the aggravation.
And then you got to think about, well, there's this big push now around what people are calling, quote unquote, discipline, and how schools have become undisciplined and unruly. And, you know, teachers are starting to be asked to do things they're not comfortable doing in some places. And, you know, we've got a bit of a mess, and I think we'll find our way out of it. But, you know, we ask our educators and our district leaders to be martyrs a little too much, and it's eventually going to weigh on us. I can say anecdotally.
Well, it already is.
On Long Island, where I live, there's a group of small districts that are considering sharing a lot more services, which could lead to a potential merger. Now, the laws in New York State make it very hard to merge districts, very expensive. So I think you're going to start to see some movement toward maybe we consolidate a little bit more like some of the states like Florida and Georgia and Maryland, where all the systems are county-based, because then at least you can streamline your overhead costs. This is me like looking into a crystal ball. I think you might see some small districts start to say there's just enough talent to lead this place, so we got to go merge with other districts, or have somebody be I know a few people who are soups for 2 or 3 districts, and they just have to go to a lot more meetings, but you know they get a small salary from each.
I never heard of that before. One person being the superintendent of several districts. That's the first I've ever heard of this.
Yeah, it's not unlike, you know, you're a fractional CFO and you work for 5 different companies, or you're a consultant. So it's like, I got a contract with this board, and the board approves that I can work with this other board and work with this other board.
Wow.
And the boards sometimes even collaborate and say, let's split this, let's agree on this total salary, and we'll split it. You know, this is a district with 200 kids here and 85 kids here and 350 kids here. Like that could be the future of where we're headed, because the job is hard.
It brings up a good point, because I'll tell you, Doug, in my opinion, you know, the pandemic brought all this out. We really have to, education hasn't changed much in 200 years, 150 years, however you want to count it.
Well,
okay.
Yeah.
And the world has, and we're going to be looking at making these changes. We have to make them, or we're going to sink the ship. Okay, the paradigm has to change. And, you know, getting back to what you do literally with IEI, okay, on the ed tech side, to me, technology is going to be a great savior of this. Okay, if we use the technology right. Yeah, go ahead, please, go.
Maybe. I just want to be careful, because I think yes, to some extent, but I want to be careful. We've been, as an industry, I think we've been prone to chasing unicorns, and I don't want to do that. And I think it's part of why I started IEI. I think 12 years ago, remember how everything was going to be video-based and playlists, and everything was going to be, all kids are going to learn math on videos, right? And Khan Academy comes down, it's like, it's going to change the world. And look, Khan Academy has had an impact, but I think a lot
they haven't changed the world.
Kind of they looked at it and kind of smirked, like, okay, here's the next thing. So I don't want a unicorn chase. There's no silver bullet. But
no, there is
no
silver bullet. But I have to say something with what you just said, and I love what you just said. Okay, Khan Academy with Sal Khan was is the first iteration of this out of the box.
Yeah.
Okay. And, we used it to some degree. Not enough people did, in my opinion. Okay. Kids struggle with math still. But these things have to evolve, and technology evolves. And I'm not talking about Terminator 3 where they take over the world, although Chat GPX or whatever that is might be the next big thing.
That's the next thing, right?
Yeah, Terminator 3, we can talk about that for hours. Okay, but the machines are taking over, But I'm saying the proper use of technology. And the way I mean it is, I live in Maine, as you know, and, up in, even here, but in northern Maine, they can't find a great physics teacher, probably, as an example. Okay, but that great physics teacher exists, and we can pipe that person in. We can video that person in. We can bring them in technologically. So the kids, I'll say, in northern Maine, where there aren't a hell of a lot of people, okay, they can have access to a great educator. If just one or two kids need it.
Right.
And that's when I say we're going to use technology properly. Yeah, that's what we have to do.
But you know what? It's not
good.
It's not a high-tech play. It's just good content and good teaching delivered through technology. And I think that's why our focus is as yours is, create equitable access, because it shouldn't matter. Your zip code should not matter.
That's
if you want to take AP art or you want to take physics. Your zip code should not be a factor, and that's I think that orientation is increasing amongst all superintendents of all. And I'm going to tell you, like, the members of IEI are not, it's not like they're all card-carrying members of the woke party. Like, it couldn't be further from the truth. We're all over the place politically. I think everyone votes for different kinds of people, right? Like,
that's fine.
we got R's and D's and everything else in between in our group, but they're all about equity, and this allows this discussion to happen, because from our perspective, it's about access to the course, access to the content. And that's what equity means for us. And technology does help there. And the next frontier is mental health services. But then the big question is, okay, so
it's already helpful.
There are lots of providers, and they're amazing. But, like, can you adequately provide counseling, coaching, mental health services without being physically together and without that relationship building piece that happens in person? That's the big question for everyone.
I personally believe you can, and they are learning how to do it and doing it well. Okay, and all the companies in that field. Okay,
but it's entirely different.
I'll say it like I said, Khan Academy. It's new, but it has to be put into place and started. Okay, it will evolve. It will change. It will get better. Yeah,
there are strategies to building relationships through virtual modalities that are we're at the very, very early stage of even knowing how to do this, which is why things can seem a little unruly with TikTok and Instagram, and it's the Wild West of this stuff. We're at the very early beginnings.
It is, it all has to. And it changes. You're constantly chasing the goalposts. Because just when you think you got it under control, ChatGPT, what I can't remember the three letters, that's something that comes in. Yeah. Now you've got that to worry about.
Yeah.
Okay, as an example.
Right. Which is And ChatGPT, let's take that one, right? All this ink gets spilled on it, and kids are going to use it to cheat and blah blah blah. And it's good. We should be thinking about all that stuff. But this is why we started Soup's Choice Awards, because we want. That's great. Talk about ChatGPT. ChatGPT is not going to be probably not going to be submitted for review by a group of the country's most innovative superintendents. Something else that, like No Red Ink was a big winner at Soup's Choice this past December, or Scribble has won. I don't know if they didn't win this year, but they were finalists this year and they won last year. Scribble's a tiny company. No Red Ink, big venture backed. Those are two examples of tools that help kids learn to write. And those guys care about what superintendents think of them, as do all the other companies who applied. And the Soups love the process. They love reviewing this stuff because, they get to put on their teacher hats for a minute. Some of them do get their staffs involved or director of curriculum, but they get to look at these solutions that are vying for their attention in the marketplace and provide an authoritative kind of seal of approval. Like, you're a finalist. We think this solution's good. And as long as we increase that voice, the awards are fun. Don't get me wrong. Like, we throw a party. We have a good time with it. My daughter was up there kind of helping MC the thing this last year. It was really cute. But, aside from the fun of it, giving out the award is about influence, making sure that superintendents wield influence in this marketplace, because they know all sides of this better than anybody. They know the board and the politics. They know how to teach a classroom. They know how to run a school, and they know the finances, and they know everything in between. And that's why I think their voice needs to be very loud.
I agree with you. And let me ask you this: knowing all that, Doug, just look at the superintendency, and you work closely with your superintendents and many others, I might add. Okay, what do you see as the greatest needs for superintendents? The thing that they need the most, the thing that they want to see changed.
Yeah.
What do you see as that? What's that?
Well,
where's that sit?
I have a unique view of it because of what we do, but they tell us all the time, all they need is time to sit in a room together and just unload, be vulnerable,
unload what?
Be heard.
Unload what?
Like angst,
frustration,
ideas,
stress,
frustration, because they can't do that at work. Because if they act, because they got a model, right? Everyone's looking at them all the time. And in the case of school officials, right, superintendents are the professionals running the school district, and you have an elected board, many of whom are likely not trained in the thing that we do. So it'd be like, if you had a publicly elected board running a hospital telling a doctor how to doctor.
Exactly.
And so they have to navigate. They got to navigate a pretty interesting line with their bosses, the board members. So they can't go and, they start expressing frustration with something to a colleague that can get to a board member, and then somebody thinks they're not happy. With us, it's a safe space to be with colleagues and say, this is something I'm working on. Who's got ideas to help me? And then my job is just to, I farm this out to one or two of the members each time, but that member facilitates the discussion and trying to make it productive, let people get in small groups. So the biggest thing I hear from them is they need time to collaborate and work together. The other thing I'm hearing is that with that, again, relative to what we do, they need us to vet some of these companies that want to work with them, filter the communications, because so many people get into the business think they're just going to kind of barnstorm their way to revenue. And you got to go and talk and listen to these people, and you got to get introduced by a trusted source, which IEA is. And so they count on us. Yeah, they count on us to review what these folks are working on first before we put them into the room with them. And that's an important service we provide to the members. And then I guess the next thing they're looking for is just help with the storytelling, the financial side of it in particular, help getting, like here in New York State, we vote on our school budgets every year, right? But in other places, a city council gives them their budget, or the Board of Ed itself votes on a budget. They're having to kind of justify the existence of some of the stuff and services they want to provide. And I think they're finding that, and that's not just us, like AASA, other places, there are a lot of people out there trying to help them with kind of the PR side of this so that they can get the community on board with the things they want to spend money on.
Wow. It's a lot on everybody's plate, Doug, I got to tell you. And what you said, just getting them together, okay, and letting them talk, letting them see what the others are doing, see that there are solutions, see that people have the same frustrations, okay? It's a good thing. I mean, it sounds like you're running a group therapy, but you know what I'm saying. This is a professional.
Sometimes.
you're not. You are and you're not.
It's a big circle.
Okay. Yeah.
Here's a very practical example. Somebody shared that they had, and many people went and implemented this, that they had started creating, this was a couple of years ago, during the heart of the pandemic with masks and the whole thing. They created a teacher wellness room. And it was Susan Enfield, our colleague from Washoe County, Nevada.
Susan's great now. Yeah,
she shared about these teacher wellness rooms. You can do yoga. There's calming, soothing music. The teacher kind of designed it, but assigning a space, even if no one uses it, for the staff to know, not just teachers, all staff, for the staff to know that there's a space dedicated to their wellness goes a long way. These people care about how I'm doing, and that's a place I want to work. And many of our districts heard that idea and went and implemented it, and it's been successful for all of them.
Yeah, and Susan's a tremendous superintendent. She did such a great job in Washington State and Highline, and it's Reno, right? Washoe County's Reno. I said that. I know it's Washoe County, but it's Reno, isn't it? Not Carson City. Reno, right?
Reno and surrounding areas, all the way to the California line.
Yeah, they're huge.
And huge. She's been a friend, mentor, advisor here for a long time, and we're grateful to have her. She's pretty
special, I got to tell you. And so are you, Doug. We got to go. We're going to do more of these. Okay.
All right.
And by the way, next time
Thanks
we do
so
it,
much.
feel free to bring some of your superintendent friends with you. They're welcome.
Yeah, we'd love to do that. We could kick around, chop it up on some of these issues. That'd be great.
Yeah, we're going to do it. Okay. So thank you, my friend. I appreciate everything you do. It's good to talk to you. Okay. Thanks a million.
Same.
Take
care.
Bye. Okay. Doug Roberts, everybody. IEIK12.com, I think, but it's also instituteforedinnovation.com. All right. But the work they do is very, very important. Okay. Superintendents are very, very important. Okay. We're going to archive the show over at a-ed.org, see all we do over there. And thanks so much for listening. Have a great day.